start.
I am Rob.
All right, I got 4 o'clock on my watch. You ladies ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna call our meeting to order. I get a roll call.
Glenn Veltkamp.
Here.
Terry Broxma. Dave Vandenbroek. Renee Popkes.
Here.
April Schaefer.
Here.
Dean Van Marl. Lee Rubers.
Here. All right, second thing on the agenda, approve the minutes of February 26, 2025. I had a chance to read them. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carries. Third item on the agenda, consider setback variance for garage addition, 1540 Washington Avenue, Dennis and Lori. We generally ask if you want to step up to the podium and say a couple words, you definitely can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. We'll go off of what you got written down on your permits.
All right, I won't read it to you, you've got it in front of you. So, right now my garage is 21 feet wide, 26 feet deep, and I'm not able to park both my vehicles in there. It physically will not fit. I can get them in there, but I can't get out of them. So what I would like to do is tear down my existing garage, add on 26 feet wide and 50 feet deep. The 26 feet then will allow me to park both my vehicles inside. The 50 feet, I've got a hobby wood shop in there now, which my wife sometimes can park in there, sometimes can't. So the wood shop is in the back, and I guess I don't know that really affects the variance. It's just deeper, and I've got plenty of room back there. So really it's the width that I'm worried about. So getting that extra width then allows me to get both of my vehicles in, and then get a little bit bigger entry into my house right now.
Am I?
Yep.
A couple of things. Received a positive comment from Brian Wolber this afternoon. He called in, and now is he the neighbor that would be most affected by this, or is he on
Brian
the other
Wolber
side?
would be 2 doors down.
2 doors. Okay.
Maybe Kuiper would be directly next door.
This is from Diane. It says, and I linked the email just a minute ago, so you have to refresh your iPads, but it says Brian Wolber, 1520 Washington, just called in to let us know he gives us approval for the 1540 Washington Avenue project, and that's from Diane Van Dree. So I just want to ask you too on the, I think this may have been discussed with you, but you're aware that the city doesn't search for easements or any of that, because
Right.
we've run into that, an issue before where somebody pulled a permit and then there was an easement and then it was put on the city. So you have to file the one call, and we don't search for easements.
Right, understand that.
So we've received no other comments.
We did walk around and talk to all of the neighbors that were on the map and showed them the map and discussed it with them and said, do you have any questions, any problems? And it was unanimous. Nobody had any issues or any, all seemed supportive of it.
And you're tearing down your old garage?
That's my plan, right. Just not feasible to add on that extra piece because of just lots of reasons.
Steve, you want to give me a comment more on your report, or you're good to go?
You know, I think you summarized it very well, and Sam's comments, I really don't have much to add. It's pretty straightforward. So it's an encroachment in the side yard, but, you know, that's for you guys to determine if there's hardship there. And I get the size constraints. I think he provided good graphics that were included in your reports too, showing vehicles, and if anybody's had a small 2-car garage, you can empathize with that. But that's, you know, so that's kind of where we're at. I have no issues at all with the depth of the 50 feet. You've got plenty of backyard space to go the 50 feet. It's just the end of the side yard. So,
Board, got any questions? Well, I think pulling in a garage and having to grease up to even try to get out of it is a hardship, so I'll make a motion to approve the variance for the garage addition at 1540 Washington Avenue.
I would support.
Second. Roll call vote?
Belkamp,
Yes.
Schaefer, Hopkins,
Yes.
Ruvers.
Yes. Carried.
Okay.
Item number 4, consider fence height variance for 890 Prairie Trail Road, Brandon Katz.
And make the disclosure to Brandon on the vote count, or do you want to do that?
You definitely can.
Brandon, the board is a 7-member board, and because of farming and the nice weather, we have only 4 people here today, so the way it works is in order to be granted, you would need all 4 votes.
Okay.
So, obviously, you're reading tea leaves a little bit, but you have the option to continue it to a future meeting where we have more people, or proceed with the discussion, so.
We can proceed.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brandon, give your 2 cents for me, please.
Yeah, so, you can see on the printout that I think everybody's got a copy. Hopefully you've had a time to read through that. Yeah, basically looking to, put up a fence along between the rec trail and onto our property line. But that's considered a front yard. We have 2 front yards, a gravel road and along Prairie Trail. And not something that I really realized when we were purchasing the lot, but I'm kind of new to this, so. But yeah, we just have some safety and privacy concerns, and I've kind of outlined that in the printout I gave you. And yeah, I did print out some photos I took of similar fences right in the neighborhood. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
So how far would the fence be off of the trail?
2 feet. 2 feet or more would be a minimum of 2.
So Steve, you can give your 2 cents, but I guess my first question is the issue is the height, not the location of the fence. And 3 feet instead, he wants 6 feet instead of 3 feet, is that correct? It's not the location of the fence that's an issue, it's the height of the fence that's the issue.
Correct. That's really the only issue, and then per the city zoning code, it does say fences in front yards need to be at least 50% open. So there's technically 2 variances, because Brandon wants to request a privacy fence. So it would be the 100% solid, and then it would be 6 feet instead of 3 feet. That's what we're talking about.
Is, for an example, because it's one of them photographed, the fence that goes around Larry and Vivian Roseman's property, is that all front or is that a side property as well?
Their property is also considered a corner lot because it fronts 2 streets.
Okay.
Anytime you have a corner property with 2 streets, you have 2 front yards. So that side on Prairie Trail Road, well, technically his lot would probably have 3 front yards because it wraps around the back.
Yep, okay.
It's a big lot. So yes, in that instance, you would have 3 front yards.
Okay.
But yes, and I believe that fence along Prairie Trail Road is right on the property line, or close to.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we allow a 6-foot high solid fence.
I support that.
I have a comment.
Sam would like to have a comment
Oh, yeah.
before we take a
Just
vote.
for the record, Brandon, so regarding the gate, the gate will not swing out, the gate will be a sliding gate, correct?
That's to be determined. I think it'll be sliding, or it will swing in towards our property.
Right, but it wouldn't swing out towards the
No.
sidewalk?
No.
Okay, and then, now the gate approval under city code is approved by the Public Works Director as far as the egress. And so, we have noted in the agenda approximately 12, and it could range from 12 to 16-ish, but that will be worked out with Todd. That's not so much for the board to consider, but wanted to make you aware of
Yep,
of that.
Steve called me the other day to kind of clarify or ask about that. And I said, probably at least 12 feet. A lot of times these fences come in 8-foot sections, so it could be 6 or 8-foot sections. So it could be 12 to 16 feet. No greater than 16.
And you don't plan on having any plantings between the sidewalk and
No.
and the fence? So
No.
if we could just put that in the minutes too. That's all I have.
Okay, before I take the roll call vote, Brad, your neighbor, would you like to say anything?
Please.
So we can hear you.
I guess my question was like, I might possibly build out there, so
State his name and address.
when you say like front yard, 6 foot, and I think it's like bushes, it's whatever, mine won't be considered a corner lot, but, so in this case, could you put that fence, let's say in Brandon's, on the east side? No, I know it's on the, I mean, I know both of them are frontage, but would you allow it on the east side, which would also be the front of the house, at 6 foot? You know what I'm saying? I know it's not the front of the house, it's the side, but you look,
Not like road run, take variance.
a variance to put it in the, on
So
the other one.
Brad, state your name and your address just for the record, please.
Yeah, Brad Zutenhorst, 622 8th Street, apartment C.
That's
This
what
is
I
where I live.
understand too, is he's asking for a variance for this specific location.
Yeah.
If he wanted one up front in the front of his house, he would have to ask for a second or separate variance for that portion.
Yeah, and, because I guess we have a person before us put lilac bushes that are 8 foot high, which would be the front of our home. Is that going to be an issue for us at that point? Are we going to have to take those out, or, you know what I'm saying? Because that would be our frontage, and I guess that's some of the stuff that I saw when I got the letter or the email about this. I wasn't aware of that either, but, so is that going to be, we're going to have to get a variance then for that?
For this particular one is because of the height of the fence, not its location.
Right, but I think...
Your lilac trees, I can't attest to. You'd have to probably ask those two guys sitting to your right, Steve or
Because it does
Todd.
say bushes as well at no higher than 3 feet, I thought, that's what it said.
Just to clarify on this, so, you know, not to open up a sticky wicket, but the issue with, the issue with hedges and that can get, there's a lot, I'll be honest, there's a lot of gray area in that. And then, so I tend to err on the side of caution with that. I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. Unless it's like a clearly like manicured hedgerow that's intended to like serve as a barrier to keep people out, then I wouldn't consider it in that fence category. But if you have just some bushes with some spacing in between the bushes and this and that, in my opinion, I don't think that would quantify in that category. There's certain cities that try to get into and define a living wall or a living fence, you know, comprised of, you know, organic materials, bushes, shrubs, hedgerows, that type of stuff. Sheldon's ordinance doesn't go into that much depth and detail, so that leaves it to the interpretation, I guess, of the administrators.
If I might?
Yep.
So I'm looking, Brad, at code 16.5 part 4, and this is really one of the only places where it talks about perennial plantings, and it says fences shall not be closer than 1 foot to any property line, and perennial plantings shall not be planted closer than 2.5 feet to any property line. So it's really about all it says. So
Todd just brought up an aerial, and it looks like, I mean, it looks like the front of the lilac hedgerow is even well beyond the property line, so where they're planted is probably clearly back further than 2.5 feet.
yeah, the idea is
So-
if you have somebody that plants a row of ouse trees a foot from a property line and bushes out into the neighbor's property, then we can address that issue.
Okay, yeah, and, yeah, well, we've taken a couple out already, so. But, yeah, I guess I was just, you know, reading that, not so concerned with what he's doing, but I see there's a fence on the other side. I just didn't know, like, frontage-wise, is that, and is that every corner lot in the community, correct? That would be true?
Well, yeah, it would apply to any frontage lot within the community that is intending to use shrubbery or hedges as a
Barrier.
type of a barrier.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
I have one final
Yeah,
comment.
I guess I just kind of want some clarification on that. If we end up building,
Okay.
we'd have to do something there, but,
Satisfied?
yeah, thank
Do
you.
you, do you have concerns regarding the variance?
My only thing would be, I think, I mean, I drive around town and I see a lot of fences there, backyards. I would hate to see corner lots with 6-foot fence in front of the house, on the side of the house, and then you go to the next, I mean, it's like, are we trying to protect ourselves from something, or, you know what I mean? And I get, you know, with,
His permit would not allow him to do that. He would have to come to the Board of Adjustment if he wanted to have a 6-foot fence in the front.
right,
And it is a bit of an unusual situation, but this was discussed last time too, that the gravel road that runs in front of your property and his on the east side is not a platted city street. It's owned by SCDC with easements, but it essentially functions as the same thing. And it's considered frontage in the record as well, so.
yeah. I guess some clarification for,
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Todd, Steve, somebody over there?
just for the record, just so that the commission is aware, the, the fence in question and the attached map does show it along the frontage of Prairie Trail Road, but it does jog back, I believe it's like 35 feet along the west side. So that's the fence that would be allowed if you guys decide to grant that. It's just a little bit of an L shape, but it does wrap around just a little bit to get basically to where the barn is.
The other clarification that I think is important is it shows the fence stopping short of the site triangle for that access road. And it is important that it stays that distance off, so we don't have traffic issues there. Almost be good if you would include that in the motion, that site triangle access right there, if you choose to approve.
April, is your motion, would you willing to add that?
I'm willing to add that triangle side of motion maintained.
And Renee, you seconded, are you willing to
Yeah,
second that
that's a
same
busy
motion?
road there.
Okay.
Second.
And you have everything that you need there for your motion?
Yep.
Okay, I'll take a roll call vote on this one as well.
Ruvers.
Yes,
Schaefer.
Yes.
Beltcamp.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
carries. Item number 5, board member comments and city manager report.
Yes, I would like to just make a very brief comment. The question had come up as to how the appeals process works and how an item can come to the Board of Adjustment. And there are basically, I moved it here, there are basically 3 powers that the Board of Adjustment has. 2 you're very familiar with, and then I'll get into the third, which you're probably not. One is variance. The other is a special exception, which is typically a use type exception, like if you're going to have residential use on top of on the top story of a building, for example. Then there's administrative review. So any aggrieved person can file an appeal on a permit that's issued by the zoning administrator, which would be me, with Steve and Todd's help, to this board. So just so you're aware of how the process works. There's 3 ways to get to the Board of Adjustment. There's no appeal pending on anything at the moment, but there have been some questions that have come up on recent permits, and I also want to disclose to you that one I already linked, and that is that for 890 Prairie Trail Road, Brandon Katz had come to the board previously, and the board had turned down his request. He redesigned, came back, and that is linked for transparency purposes to the agenda, but we intend to grant that permit. And then the other is the decoy sign, which you heard on February 26th. That was turned down by the Board of Adjustment for its size. I'm not as familiar with that one. Can you take 30 seconds to describe what they changed?
Absolutely. So just for the board's information, so you guys are aware you approved the decoy sign permit, and that was denied. The company went back, they basically redesigned the entire sign. So it was to be the 12 by 12. They wanted a 12 by 12, which was 144 square feet. They reduced it down to 7 feet high by 14 feet, which comes in at 96 square feet. The limitation is 100. So, and as far as still having the wedge design, the previous sign was at 31 degrees, 31, 32. We informed them that per code, that would be considered a two-face sign unless they can get it under a 30-degree wedge. So they went back, they actually re-engineered it, and the entire sign structure is going to be re-engineered to be on a 27-degree wedge. So the sign is going to be a little bit flatter, but it is still allowed to be both faces and counted as one sign. So technically, the off-premise electronic digital billboard will come in at 96 square feet, which complies with the sign code, and that's what they resubmitted for a new application.
Okay. That's all I have, unless you have any
Unless you
questions.
guys have any other questions about either Brandon's house or the sign or anything else. So,
I don't. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
and not to go too far down the rabbit hole real quick, but I just wanted to share with you, but we were talking about the fences and the hedge and everything. I was just reading an article on some planning stuff that I follow, but it was either Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. I think it was Bezos' property. But Bezos has like a 28 or 30 foot tall manicured hedge right up to his property line. And whatever city he's in California, he pays like $1,000 fine every single day of the year. So that hedge is costing him like $365,000 a year. But he just pays it just so he can have a 28, 30 foot tall privacy hedge around his property. So anyway, I digress. Sorry.